Many people come to see me having already learnt through accident or reading, or it's been handed down to them, how to use distraction to get them through a difficult situation. I encourage distraction not for anxiety, but probably more for pain management. And there's a lot of data that now says that moving your focus away from the experience into another zone of focus will help to diminish the psychological aspects of pain, especially chronic pain, occasionally acute pain. Nowadays, people are using in hospitals headsets like this to help people immerse themselves into artificial worlds, or in fact even real worlds which are away from where we are. If you're stuck in hospital for several hours undergoing a procedure, a dialysis for some people, perhaps putting this on and going to see Disney World, or going for a walk on a calming beach, or even swimming with dolphins can sometimes be a very, we could say, calming situation, but more one where your focus has shifted away and you've experienced a subjective reduction in pain. But when it comes to anxiety, it's overrated, as is the search for calmness. But many people discover that distraction can be useful, but what they're doing is distracting themselves from their distressing sensations, their distressing thoughts, as if I shut them down, it won't be so bad. But then what happens is that people discover that over time, the distractions actually don't have as much potency as they used to. One has to up the ante a little bit, find even more distracting things, a new game on the iPhone, a new app perhaps, with some novelty value. Some people, they need to up their medication, or they start to use alcohol, which is a form, of course, of numbing the sensations. It's all predicated on the idea that I can't cope with these sensations. These sensations will lead to disaster, and it's evidence that I'm not in control. So you can see how these three things now, calmness, distraction, and control, kind of go together. It's all an effort to minimize one's own distress. So what can sometimes happen weeks in advance is that people can experience what we call in the trade anticipatory distress, sometimes known as discomfort anxiety, which is the apprehension that I will feel very uncomfortable and experience discomfort at some future point. So I need to spend a lot of time now, not just in contemplation of it, but actually experiencing it now. Not that that's what one wishes to have, that experience, but that's how our bodies operate, in particular how our brains operate, sending out signals that say, well, better be safe than sorry, let's prepare for this now. Unfortunately, people prepare the wrong way. So the difficulty with distraction from the psychologist's viewpoint is that it's limiting. Your task is to be able to say, if my iPhone was to fail, my app update didn't come through, the batteries in my noise-cancelling headphones weren't to operate, could I be able to handle this flight just on my own, just relying on my own devices rather than external things? That's your little test. If the in-flight entertainment was to fail, and it does every so often, and I can't rely on watching a movie over 14 hours, what's my plan? Okay. Now, I don't want people to dwell on this. I just want people to know that whatever happens, I have a contingency plan. In both the flight deck and the cabin, these contingency plans are part of what makes flying the safe journey that it is, just about all the time. Okay? These contingencies, what happens if this happens, has been thought through. In aviation, it's not, it might happen. Aviation works on, it will happen. And that's why pilots will go into the sim every 6 months, sometimes more frequently, depending on their age, and be tested using events which are very, very unlikely to occur over the course of a 30-year flying career. But not just thrown one event, but they're topped up one on top of the other to the point of failure. So pilots get to see the human qualities and the sort of things they need to be doing to self-manage. They actually sweat bullets in the lead up to these sims, because their careers basically rely on a successful outcome. And they only get a couple of tries, and if they fail, there are outcomes for that. So Be wary of using distraction. There is a time and a place for it, but be wary on relying on it only to get you through this. Okay? Your task has got to be, no matter what the plane does, I have a plan for it. I can self-manage. I know what to do in these situations. And a lot of that has to do also with how you think about something. Okay? What happens if this happened? Here's the plan. What's that noise? I can find out what that is. So we think that maybe the way around distraction is to actually immerse yourself in your preparations. Watch your YouTube videos, not of turbulence, whatever else, but just the takeoffs and the usual things. Go out to the airport and where possible, sit there, take in the sights and the sounds, and just expose yourself to these things. I advise my patients to go to the gates where it's possible. In Australia, you just have to walk through security. You don't have to be taking a flight to go to the gate and even stand in line. You can do that and then pair off and just practice doing those sort of things in the weeks leading up to your flight. That can be quite a successful outcome. So you just get used to the whole environment, especially the sights and the smells and the sounds, which can be a trigger. Okay.